Hello, welcome. I'm Justin Slocum Bailey, Slocum from my mom, Bailey from my dad. I'm thrilled to be here today to show you a tool that I've grown to love since it came out just a couple months ago, but this is really the first summer and this will be the first academic year that it's available. That tool is Flangoo Creator. That's why you're watching this video, or that's why you're here in the meeting, and we will spend most of the time with me simply sharing my screen and walking you through some different things about it. I do have a couple slides also where I've collected some ideas to share with you, but mostly we'll just be right in Flangoo and Flangoo Creator. If you are here live, of course, feel free to drop questions in the chat where I or my colleague David can answer them. Just ever so briefly about myself, I grew up in Vienna, Austria in the 80s and 90s. After that, I moved, or since then, I've lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, and Los Angeles. Los Angeles is where I started my teaching career in 2005, taught mostly Latin and German, and also some Spanish. French was the main language I took growing up, and I've always been around international groups or international students, multilingual family members and communities. And so that love for languages and people is why I work with languages and people. And since this spring, I've gotten to work a lot in and with and on Flangoo. And so that's why I'm here to share with you some brand new things about it. I'm going to start, as I said, sharing a couple ideas on some slides that I'll share, and then we'll switch diving into the Flangoo platform itself. Just out of curiosity, I see a question. Does David run the Vocis workshops? David has frequently given or helped at Vocis workshops. Exactly. I also do quite a bit of work with Vocis Digital, which is another division. So Flangoo and Vocis are both divisions of Teachers Discovery, if you're familiar with that organization. And so, yeah, David's great to have on that. And I've enjoyed working with both. Out of curiosity, for the folks who are here live, do you mind, if you have access to a keyboard, do you mind throwing in the chat kind of your level of familiarity or current use or status with respect to Flangoo? For example, are you brand new to even flangoo.com, never even sort of checked out the library, you just heard about this and thought, I'm going to go? Or are you a current user of Flangoo and you're considering checking out Flangoo Creator, or maybe you even already have Flangoo Creator and you're here for kind of a tutorial? Would you share? Okay, so Haley says, heard of Flangoo, hasn't tried it yet. So this is perfect. Even though the focus will be on Flangoo Creator, built right in, you'll get a really good sense for Flangoo overall, because Flangoo Creator is built right on top of Flangoo and integrated. Ali says has used it for 3 years already. Lovely. Love to have you, love to see a longtime user like that and is now interested in checking out Creator. Lovely. Allison says she just got an email about it, hasn't worked with it before, eager to check it out. Spanish teacher, increased reading capabilities. That's exactly what both Flangoo and Flangoo Creator are designed for. Matthew says he loves flangoo.com. You're at your third school incorporating it. Excellent. This is going to help make it even sweeter. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Again, starting with a couple slides to give you kind of a bird's eye view and a couple concrete ideas, and then we'll make it super concrete in the platform itself. Are we all able to see a slide that says read more with Flangoo Creator, and then it tells you a bunch of other things that as I brainstormed with myself, this actually lets you do. You can actually watch, as in watch or view more videos, do more writing of your own or of students, assess more stuff, enjoy the language and topics more, and as a result of all that, learn more. The slides appearing, excellent. I always love to even though I'm fairly tech savvy, I always love to double check that to make sure we're all on the same page. So Flangoo Creator, hopefully by the end of this time, any or all of your questions will have been answered, but this isn't your final opportunity to get them answered. I'll share some contact information. There's a help and support page, all kinds of stuff where if we do run out of time or your question doesn't happen to get answered, we'll make sure that it gets answered. So what does Flangoo Creator let you do? If you're familiar with Flangoo Library, it's an online repository of texts. both novellas, so full-length books, and shorter articles or features. Students can read them. Students can listen to audio, voice actors narrating the audio along. There are lovely illustrations. Students can take comprehension quizzes on what they've read, and teachers can view all their students' activities. So how much time students read reading a certain text, how they did on the different comprehension quizzes, and so on. That's what Flangoo itself, which we often call Flangoo Library. That's kind of the core, what Flangoo has always been. That's what Flangoo does. It's excellent. People have been saying in the chat they love it. So what does Flangoo Creator let you do? It lets you do the following. There's two main things. I basically boil it down to two things. They're kind of subcategories, but if there's two things to take away from here, here's the two things that Flangoo Creator lets you do. One, it lets you add your own content to Flangoo. So just as we sort of officially publish books by other publishers usually that ask us to carry their books in Flangoo, or by freelance authors, just as we put those books on with a book cover and a synopsis that's enticing for people to read it, and indicators of a difficulty level and what kind of things people will encounter in that book. And then when students do read it, they have the text with vocab that or underlined words in the text that students can hover over, and the definition will appear as vocab help, and illustrations are there, and comprehension quizzes, and all that kind of stuff. It lets you do basically every single thing that we can do when we add a text to Flangoo. You can now do with anything that you choose to add in of your own. You don't have to do every single one of those things. I'll show you. You don't have to add an audio recording if you don't get the chance or you don't want to. You don't have to do quizzes. If you just want to put the content there, that's totally fine. But Flangoo Creator lets you basically be us in terms of adding content to Flangoo. And then it gives you the choice. We'll see more of this in a bit. It gives you the choice when you add that content. Do you want it visible only for your students, or do you want it visible for other people who use Flangoo Creator, just to multiply the base of content in the target language that's available? So here are some examples. They're presumably very small on your screen. You'll see them full screen in a moment, but you can see that these are places where, in one case, in this example here, another case, another teacher has either come up with a story or maybe written a story. And this left example that you'll see closer in a bit is about my own summer, my unexpected receiving of a puppy this summer. I turned into a target language story for students to read, and Flangoo Creator lets me do that and take advantage of all the tools then that Flangoo has. Like, I would be able to monitor what students are up to in terms of reading it or not. Matthew, great point. So Matthew asked a question, for those of you who are watching the video, Matthew asked a question about copyright infringement. There'll be, you'll see if you go to publish an item, you attest to the fact that you're the owner of whatever it is you're publishing. So you're absolutely right. You wouldn't want to take some text that's under copyright and put it into Flangoo, but anything that you've created, anything your students have created and given you permission to put on Flangoo, anything that's in the public domain. For example, I spoke just last week with a university professor of Spanish who is creating, she's in the process, mostly done actually, and will publish shortly, a simplified version of El Cid, the Spanish epic poem that was written hundreds of years ago, so it's in the public domain. There are, of course, things written more recently that are in public domain. There are fairy tales, folk tales, things like that that are public domain that you could write and add your own version of. But yeah, it's a great point, Matthew. As publishers ourselves, things like copyright are important to us, and also as ethical humans, those things are important. So we do hold users of Flangoo Creator to that, and the user base. Flangoo reaches a lot of people, but the user base is small enough that we can handle that on a case-by-case basis when it comes up. So absolutely, Maria, your student's own Märchen, that's fairy tales in German, is an example of something you could add, and I'll show you lots more examples here in a moment. So that's the first category. You can add stuff to Flangoo. You can also, I hinted at this a moment ago, you can use anything that other people who use Flangoo Creator have added to Flangoo. So there's kind of this twofold thing. You can add stuff, and you can use what other people have added. And you can see here some examples of these are screenshots taken a while ago of the French, Spanish, German sections of Flangoo Creator, stuff that people have created. You can see it's small, but you can see here this thing about the puppy. I made a French, Spanish, and German version of, did the audio and all that stuff to make that available for folks in each of those languages as a kind of experiment myself using Flangoo Creator and as a way to support the teaching community. So I'll show you where these books appear, and you can see the way they're kind of formatted mirrors the way that book covers are formatted in Flangoo published content. You don't have to be a graphic designer to do that. As I'll show you, there are pre-made templates that you can use to really easily make a little book cover, or you can knock yourself out, go wild in Canva or Photoshop or whatever you want to use if you are inclined in that way. But the first thing to note is these two big points. Flangoo Creator lets you add stuff, and Flangoo Creator lets you see stuff that other people have added. Excellent question, Maria. I do want to emphasize is that when it says add your own content and support to Flangoo, that's support content for stuff that you've created. We get the question every once in a while, hey, for content that's already on Flangoo, is there a way that I could upload additional quizzes of my own or things like that? Right now, that's not a thing yet. But I can tell you, because I'm privy to the information, that it's on our official list of updates that we're working on to be able to do. Okay. So put another way, because of that, Flangoo Creator lets you read much more than you, even with Flangoo Library, and certainly much more than if you didn't have either of those things. And as I said before, because you can include audio if you want, you can include video if you want, which I'll show you how to do that. Technically, with Flangoo Creator, you could add a bunch of stuff without writing anything. It could just be like videos you take on your phone, but you upload them into Flangoo Creator, the stuff you take and you narrate in the target language, and you upload it as content on Flangoo, and you can still have students view it there. You can see whether they viewed it. You can create comprehension questions on the video that you uploaded. So you can use all those same features that I mentioned, but for video content or audio content as well. And again, I'll show you in a moment exactly how to do that. You can assess that stuff. The more content there is, the more content there is to enjoy, and the more there is to learn. So Maria, great question. Can students upload videos directly, like in various educational apps that are out there? The answer to that right now is no. So you could have, if you wanted student-created stuff, you could have students submit it to you, give you permission, and then you add it. Right now, everything happens via a teacher account. Like the teacher account is the locus where changes get made to Flangoo and content gets added. And I just want to tell you right up front, and because I don't want to make it seem like we're kind of building up this big old thing and then dropping it on you. It's $49 to add Flangoo Creator to your account, $49 a year. Okay. This may already be obvious to you, and some of you are already here, and I can see in the chat, you're generating ideas about, I see how I could use this. And maybe what I just said about, well, there's that much more stuff that students can read, that much more stuff that students can view, that much more that you can assess. Those would be good reasons to use Flangoo Creator. I'll give you a couple more here. This is the last slide before we dive into the actual platform. So it's more target language input. So not only for reading skills, but for developing an overall proficiency in all communicative modes. More content is more input in the target language. It's also specifically more content that targets your students' interests, because we try to make sure to put stuff in Flangoo that might be interesting to students, but you know your students best of all. And you may already be someone who creates text or curates text or finds folk tales or whatever it may be that you think your students may be interested in. Flangoo Creator lets you really specifically target your students' interests and take advantage of the features of the platform in presenting that content that matches students' interests. The more total content also means that there's more choice if you use Flangoo for free voluntary reading or free choice reading, as many of you do and many people do, I think it's one of the best uses of Flangoo. In other words, maybe you reserve a certain 10 minutes a day at the beginning of class or at the end of class where students just open Flangoo and they read on in some book that they've chosen. You having added in content that you know your students have been interested in the past or tend to be interested in increases the chance of their having an option of something to read for fun that they like. And by the way, just as with Flangoo published books, this feature isn't very prominent. I'm thinking about seeing if we can make it a bit more prominent and make better use of it. But books are reviewable, and you can give a star rating and a written review of books. And you can make it so that students can rate and review content that you put as well. And then your future students or other students in your class will know, oh, this student or this many students like this book, so I'm going to check it out as well. From another perspective, from your perspective, it's a place where you can have an outlet for your own creativity. I, as a teacher, have written hundreds upon hundreds of texts and just printed them out for students or just projected them for students or maybe share them in Google Docs. That totally works as a free and easy option. But I would have loved, I remember I said I started teaching in exactly 20 years ago in Los Angeles. I would have loved to have a platform like Flangoo where I could add all those texts, both as a hub for them and a way to see how many students are reading this text, which of these stories that I've written, or maybe we've written as a class and I've told students, hey, okay, if I put this on Flangoo, and say, yeah, let's put it on there. That way we can rate the other classes' stories or whatever it may be. I would have loved to have something like that to take advantage of all those tools for the text that I was writing anyway. And in some cases, sharing online with folks anyway, this would be a great kind of centralized way to do that. It also probably would have been some motivation for me, especially in those early years, to, you know what, I can write this thing, but then only my 20 Latin 3 students will see it. Okay, but if I have kind of a place like this with a potential audience, then I might be that more motivated to go ahead and write that thing. And since I mentioned Latin, yes, because you're writing it yourself anyway, you're putting it there yourself anyway, you can put stuff on Flangoo Creator or via Flangoo Creator in any language, not just the 3 that Flangoo books come in. If you do it in those 3 languages, which are Spanish, French, and German, and my guess is most of the folks here teach one of those languages because that's what Flangoo already supports. If you do share content in those languages, then it will be categorized and it can be found via search among the official Flangoo published stuff. However, you can, and I'll show you when we switch over to the platform in a moment, you can select a different language from a massive, massive list of what the language is that you're uploading a text in. The most likely, I won't dwell on this a bunch because this may not be a use case for many of you. The most likely use case, I think, for that is for teachers who teach one of the 3 main Flangoo languages, Spanish, French, or German, and also another language, Italian, Latin, something else, because then they might be using the Flangoo library in, let's say, German, in my case, might be using it for German, but then also uploading Latin texts and having my students check out those as well. And I can just, my vision over time is that maybe some of those languages will take off in terms of there being a lot of Flangoo users wanting to share content in them. That makes it more likely that that becomes an official Flangoo language that we publish existing stuff or publishers send us stuff for. So I'd love to see that happen. That's not a guarantee or prediction. That's what I, as a teacher and supporter of teachers, kind of would love to envision. If you've already made a bunch of content, as I have, this is kind of a subset of the Unleash Your Creativity, then Flangoo Creator lets you use it in a bunch of ways that you might not have been able to before, like the auto-graded quizzes, associating audio narration right there with the text, embedding videos, you name it. So getting more out of stuff that you've already made anyway. including monitoring whether students read it, how much they read it, and their comprehension through the comprehension quizzes. I've mentioned that a couple times. And I've also mentioned, this is the last point on here before we dive into the platform, that with students' permission, if it's something students are into, I've had class groups that very much they wouldn't have cared, and other class groups that were really into, like, oh yeah, I really want to, let's put our class story on Flangoo Creator for the other classes to read, or for people all over the world to read, see if people like it, get it out there, see how people do on our quiz questions. Again, it's not guaranteed that any given student or class would be really into that, but I certainly have had a lot that would be into that. In that case, of course, I would, if it was something we created as a class, I would make sure to edit it, that it's kind of publication ready, not as in literarily flawless, but making sure there's no grammar mistakes and things like that. And same if I were maybe collecting submissions from students to have student work posted like that. So let's check it out. I'm going to switch the share. And I see some of the questions in the chat David's been able to answer, some I've been able to answer, others will sort of inherently be answered in what we look at on the platform right now. So I'm going to go ahead and make that switch. As I said, I'll make sure still to reserve some time for any other questions that may have built up. I'm going to switch the share, like I said, to my Flangoo screen. And now you should be seeing the Flangoo.com homepage, as it were. So if I first log into Flangoo, it would look basically like this, except if you've never logged in before, you wouldn't have this continue reading section, right? Because you wouldn't have started reading a thing to continue. I have started reading these things, so they show up in my continue reading. I won't spend a ton of time here on this main Flangoo library, but for the couple of people who are here in the meeting, and I know there are others who may be watching this, watching the video, this gives you a feel for what it looks like for when a teacher or a student browses through the Flangoo library. There are all kinds of books and other pieces of content organized by level, organized by genre, organized by length in some cases. And all these things can also be searched. So for example, let's say type in tortuga, that will yield a variety of results, both ones that have tortuga, that's Spanish for turtle, in the title, and other ones where that might be pertinent. So all this content and ways of finding it. Here's where, for now, Flangoo Creator content that's been published by Flangoo Creator uses lives. Right now, it's on its own section that is really easily found with the Flangoo Creator logo up here, and it's showing you so far there are 6 items that people have gone so far as to not just create, but also share. Click the option that says share this on Flangoo with other Flangoo Creator users. By the way, for people who have access to Flangoo, but they haven't yet paid the extra $49 for Flangoo Creator, they can also navigate to this page. They can even see these covers, but I think there's a little padlock icon or something like that telling people, you got to have Flangoo Creator to use this part of the site. So you can see, if I were to click on this, and if you're familiar with, I just clicked on this one called Se Vende Raton. My internet's being a little slow, here it goes. All this stuff looks the same as with an officially published Flangoo book. So there is an image here. I'll show you how JJ, the Spanish teacher, who, by the way, is the Indiana Spanish or Language Teacher of the Year a couple years ago, where she would have gotten this picture and how she added it. There's a synopsis. It doesn't have to be long. This one's shorter than most of the ones for Flangoo published content, but that's totally fine. There's information about level, how many chapters, even what tenses. This was manually entered. It's optional to enter what tenses appear in the text. And if I click continue reading, it says continue because I've opened it before. It takes me to something that looks just like when someone opens a Flangoo book with a text. I can change the text size a little bit, and you can see these lightly underlined blue items I can hover over. Mascotas is glossed as pets. Raton, glossed as mouse. Se vende raton, glossed as mouse for sale, or a mouse is being sold. JJ was able to manually select which words would be glossed like this and what would show up as the gloss. And I'll show you that in a moment when I go over to the this sort of editor platform where she and where any other teachers, where you will be able to add and edit this content. So you can see it's a fairly short text. She hasn't added illustrations other than this sort of cover image, but she has embedded, she has linked, and this is above board because it's not like she downloaded the video from YouTube and is passing it off as her own. It links to YouTube and so on. This story is something that she wrote up after doing a movie talk or clip chat on this animated short film, a wordless animated short film. And so this is a way that she is going to get more out of it with students by having this written version, having multiple choice quiz, and so on. So I love that I landed on this example because it illustrates yet another way that that one could use Flangoo Creator. In other words, for making content based on an existing resource, such as this animated short film. And you can see if a student were doing this, it's only one chapter because it's just this. So there's not a lot of navigation through a ton of chapters, but there are these multiple choice questions that teachers are able to enter what's the question going to be, what are the answer choices, what's the right answer, and all that kind of stuff. And I'll show you where to do that next. So again, this is this right here where it has this Flangoo Creator logo. That's where you get to these books. For now, they're not in all the same kind of categories by genre and level the way that the main page has items. Once there are more, we're continuing to work on this. Once there are more books, they'll appear because we do have the information. We do ask people to put, hey, what level are you picturing this be for, and so on. Those tags already exist. And so once they're a bit more, we'll kind of activate that and books will be sorted by level, topic, etc. We have encouraged in the meantime folks to put, and you can see some people have, some people haven't, no problem, have put a level, an estimated level as part of the actual book cover, which is a great option. So where did I make this dog one? Where do people make this stuff? Where would/will you? All you got to do is click right here where it says write your story. And it will take you to this page. This may look a bit overwhelming to you because when I log in and look at it, it shows me all the drafts that all the teachers and all the places are working on. So for you, it won't look overwhelming like this. When you first go there, this will just be blank. You can see I and some of my colleague David's here. Some of these are sample books that we're working on either for fun to publish or to test things out so that we can answer customer questions and things like that. There's also some show up as by me, even though they're not. That's apparently a little bug that's being ironed out. They show up correctly online, but on this list, maybe because it's me who's logged in or looked at them most recently or something like that. That's why it's showing like that here. And you'll be able to see for yourself this information about your drafts or books that you've published. So let's say I were Kelsey and it were showing me this, my Kelsey's book. I can see, oh, it's got 3 chapters. No one's rated it yet. That makes sense because it's unpublished, as it says here, meaning it's a draft that hasn't been published yet, and therefore it's still 0 for all this other information as well. But once you start a draft, and the way you start a draft is by clicking Create Book over here. It's kind of tucked away because there's so much other stuff on my screen. But for you, when you log into this, there wouldn't be all this other stuff. So it'd be a bit more prominent, this Create Book button. And that's where you get taken to kind of the master draft page. And I'm going to open an example of mine because I'm more familiar with it. I'm going to open this German, Ich will keinen Hund, I don't want a dog. When I create a draft, when I start a draft using that create button, it ends up on this screen, which this is where kind of the main book information gets supplied, information about the book, I should say. The actual content happens here where it says write/edit book. But you can see I was able to put in a title, and you can see that has a star because it's required. But a lot of the other information, I wouldn't have to, if you want to publish anonymously, this author field, you can leave it blank. You don't have to say what category it goes in. Basically, what's required is you have to put a title, you have to put some kind of description, you have to put a language, and you have to put a level. The reason why those things are required is because Flangoo Creator is built right on the architecture of Flangoo itself and the Flangoo Library, these are tags that every book in the Flangoo Library, for the site to work, has to have a tag of what language it is and what level it is. But of course, you know as a teacher as well as I do that, well, I don't know, is this level 1? Is this level 2? Just pick one, it's fine. Actually, this seeing that the level is not starred, so you could get away with not even putting that. I recommend putting that, though, just to help people out. You could change the chapter numbers in order to add more chapters if you wanted. This one just has one because it's a single write-up. You can even change where it says nav bar color. That's when someone opens a book that is this brown up here. So you can even change what color people see up there. You can make it coordinate with your content if you want. I made it purple because the puppy that's about has a purple collar, just for fun. You can put keywords, animals, pets, dogs, cats. You could do it in the target language and or in English. That is so that if people back here on the home page search by those keywords, that makes your book findable if you've published it for other creator users to see, etc. So this is where you can put some of this basic information. Where most of your kind of design is going to happen is right here where it says write/edit book. So I'm going to show you this is a completed example already, which will make a nice example. But initially, of course, when you click this button, what it shows here, right now it's taking some time to load because it's retrieving all these images and text and everything that I already put in here. When you did this for the first time, this would be blank. And it's basically a word processor, just like Google Docs. And so you can create right in here if you want. Personally, I feel safer drafting my text and refining it in something like Google Docs or Word and then copying it in here. This does prompt you to save and things like that. But personally, I just play it safe like that. So I pasted in my text, and then I can do all kinds of editing stuff. Some of the editing features are up here. I inserted this screenshot of my partner, Ashley, telling me she wants a new pet, namely a dog. This is a true story. I was on an airplane bound for the Netherlands and got this text message. You can read all about it in any of those 3 languages. I could just click this picture icon up here to insert a picture like this. You can also access a bunch of editing options by double-clicking in space or on a word. And there are these classic kind of word processor editing options, or I can click here. So bekommen means received. So if I wanted, I could put add translation and put receive and hit insert. And that would make it, I'm going to cancel that, but this is just a demonstration. That would make it then so that that becomes one of the words when students are reading that is blue underlined. So all these words that are blue here with this underline are ones that I put a gloss for. And when students read this, or when teachers read it for that matter, in Flangoo, these are glossed. Put some pictures of the cats that were going to be joined by this supposed new dog and what ended up happening. You can kind of guess from the pictures. We ended up with a different dog than we initially thought. And I just used a ton of real life pictures of me and the dog and the cats and stuff as illustrations. I didn't have to hire an illustrator or come up with great illustrations myself. And what this looks like is, so this is the German one, but I'll just open the Spanish one because we're right here. What this looks like over in Flangoo, if a teacher or student reads it, is they see the text here, no quiero un perro. You can see here these underlined words glossed. You can see the screenshots and the pictures, and students or teachers could go through and read it. And they could also answer these multiple choice questions. How did these multiple choice questions end up here? Well, back here, and it might prompt me to save because it's very thorough. Nope, because I didn't actually save any of it, or it didn't actually keep any changes. If I go here where it says manage quiz, you can see here are the 5 questions that I created. And for each of those, I was able to enter the question itself, what the options were right here, and I was able to label this the correct answer. And the answer choices get shuffled for users when they're reading. But that's how I created this quiz. Just clicked Save Quiz, and that generated all this information. So if students would answer here, they'd hit Submit, just like with Flangoo books. Bravo, I got it right. click next to go to the next question, and it keeps track of that for students as part of student data, just like with Flangoo created books. Last but not least, right here, and then I'll check out the chat, take any questions you may have, share some final ideas, is in order partly to entice readers, but also in order for it to work with Flangoo's architecture, because you can see that if I go back to the main Flangoo page here, or even this page, the way the core way that books are organized on the Flangoo site is as this particular format of book images or book covers, right? That's true both for the creator books and for all these. So in order for stuff that teachers create to slot in here, it's got to have at least a rudimentary image like this. And so this is where that gets added, and how we help you is if you go to book cover. Remember, the main page here, once we started our draft, was this book details page with the titles and so on. I just showed you the editing page where I put the text. Then I showed you the managed quiz. And right in between is book cover. And it tells you not just the dimensions that this item needs to have, but you can also click on a book cover template. That's something that I made to make your life easy. It opens in Canva. You don't have to have a Canva account or anything like that. I'm going to say, yeah, I want to edit this template. And when I do, taking a moment. So here's this template. You could just put the title of your book right here. It looks like it's still loading. You could put the title of the book right here. You could put your name right here. You can put an image here. And this other text, you wouldn't want all this text on your book, right? This is some tips that I've given you on how to make your title, or excuse me, how to make your cover using this template. You can change the color of these items and so on. Totally fine. You don't have to be, like I said, some amazing graphic designer, but if you want to, either here or elsewhere, knock yourself out, have fun designing to your heart's content. We are working on an option just to cut out even this, because we want there to be as few obstacles to you all getting your text in front of students and anyone else as possible. We're working on an option where if you didn't want to do any of this work, because Flangoo still needs some kind of image there, where you could press a button to like automatically generate a cover like that pulled the title from right here and pulled the name from right here and maybe the level and put it all together on a kind of rudimentary cover. That's not in place yet. It probably will be at some point. But in the meantime, I encourage you to go ahead and just use the template that I clicked on. So this is the main book cover that appears right here. Then the second one is this thing right here that's called a thumbnail, is this smaller image that appears right here. And the last image, this one right here is kind of the banner that's at the top of the website when people open your book. So once this item here is already published, I have it as visible to my students, and I hit publish on Flangoo. I'm gonna sneak into someone's draft. Don't tell them. They may see on the video. This is that example of El Cid that a professor's working on. It's not yet published, and the reason I open this is to show you when she's ready to publish, she can select toggle on and off, having it be visible to her students, and she can select, if she wants, to publish it on Flangoo. And it says publish on Flangoo Library. That refers still to this spot right here, to this spot for creators' books. So again, because it's a perk of being a Flangoo creator, is getting to see stuff that other people created and choose to share. This item, even if she selects publish on Flangoo Library, what that still means is publish for people to use who are also Flangoo creators. So I've been going here for a while, but I still have time to answer questions. I'm going to go over to the chat. Some may have built up. Either way, we'll make sure that you get your questions answered either right here in this recording. Oh yeah, some great question I want to address is I'm going to go kind of from the bottom up. Ali asked, are they like the teachers' intellectual property? And the answer is yes. So even if you publish it here via Flangoo, it's not our property, it's your property. You can publish it or share it however else you want. We don't lay any claim to it whatsoever. We're just providing this platform as a place. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me go ahead and scroll here through the chat. It looks like David's been doing a great job keeping up. Concentrated reading, fun, okay, some question about Flangoo in general that David's been addressing. Excellent. Oh yeah, so Allison, who's had some general questions about Flangoo, looks like, again, David stayed on top of it pretty well, but I'll just answer for other folks in the chat. Question about student accounts versus teacher accounts. Everything happens through teacher accounts, and then students are under the umbrella of that teacher. You don't have to buy student licenses or anything like that. Oh, Alice said she saw the Se Vende Raton in another class. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Great story. Oh, and actually a great point there. So here's a question with the glosses, because in the examples where I showed you of glossed words that students could hover over and get an English translation, absolutely. The question is, could it be target language? And the answer is absolutely yes. So you could use synonyms in the target language that you think your students already know, or you could define the word in the target language. Because you are getting to manually put in whatever you want to pop up there. Absolutely, you can do that. Looks like there's questions about that with some of the published content as well that David's going to check in with the tech people as well. Maria says, love the cute, authentic story. That's about my puppy, I think. Maria had to take off. That's all right. And here we are back to this question to be published. We'll let you unpublish. And yes, so you can choose publish, unpublish, different things like that. And I was asking about kind of basic account for getting that and certificate of attendance. Absolutely, we can send you a certificate of attendance saying that you did an hour of professional development for attending this seminar. As far as a basic account, you can find this information at flangoo.com as well. But as of August 13th, 2025, and for the distant foreseeable future, Flangoo's $149 a year for the Flangoo Library, and that gets you all that teacher students, as well as many different classes that you want, etc. And then it's $49 to add the creator. That's the pricing for your first year, and then there's a lower loyalty pricing for subsequent years, $129 instead of $149. Teresa has a question. What if you go over, if you need more slots than those 180? Teresa, just get in touch with us and we can manually make that possible for you. Don't worry about it. We can make that work. It's not like a technological limit that's impossible to exceed or something like that. So we'll make sure to do that. On that note, let me go ahead and switch the share back to my slides here, because I have some links and some contact info and stuff like that for you here. Here we are back on the presentation here. So happy creating. If you go for this, either way, like Allison or anyone else who's new to Flangoo outright, if you go to flangoo.com, just literally that website, and you don't yet have an account, but the first thing you'll see is a button to get a free trial. The free trial is not like a reduced or limited version of it. It's full access, everything. It's just the only sense in which is limited is time. And even that we can extend for you if you want to play around with it some right now and they say, oh, I need a couple more days to try it with students or something like that. No problem. Just get in touch either with this help@teachersdiscovery.com. Remember, Teachers Discovery is the parent company of which Flangoo is a product. I'm Justin. I have this Voces digital email address because Voces, as mentioned earlier in the session, is it's a curriculum that David and I and others also do some work on, but that will reach me. Even if you send to help@teachersdiscovery.com, say, hey, Justin said this, can you forward this to him or something like that? I'll get it within minutes. We're a small, tight-knit outfit. So any information or any follow-up questions that you have, I can also, or David can, we can meet with you one-on-one and do some more screen sharing and things like that. I do that all the time. Love to make stuff as easy as possible, especially this time of year, as you have recently returned to school or you're about to and trying to figure out a lot of stuff. And it's nice to just be helped directly. That's totally something we can do. But your kind of main stop is this flangoo.com or teachersdiscovery.com, where there's a help chat, or you can use this help email address. So enjoy. If you haven't yet poked around Flangoo, go over and poke around. If you have, and some of the stuff that I shared about all the different cool things you might be able to do with your own ideas or your students' ideas or stuff in the public domain entices you, you can write within your Flangoo account. You can add Flangoo Creator to your current account or to your current subscription. I say subscription, we use the term, but it doesn't automatically renew. We don't want to surprise people with credit card charges or something. You just get a reminder when your year is going to be up soon, and an encouragement to re-up so that you can retain access to the features. There you have it. Thank you so much for your enthusiastic participation in the chat. As it says here, happy creating, and holler at us anytime. We're for the most part teachers or recent ex-teachers, and we love helping teachers and students out like that. That's how we spend our days now, is mostly serving students by serving their teachers with general assistance or with specific content and tools like this. I'm going to check the chat just in case there are any other things to make sure to share while the video is still on, but I see it's pretty much just thank yous and saying, ooh, I'm going to get the business office to get me this. So yeah, absolutely do. If you need information, sometimes schools need information about like how we handle student data and things like that. And we have all that information if you need that for the sake of approval from admin or from the district or whatever it may be. So thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, if indeed it be evening wherever you are. But either way, wish you well. And if you're embarking on a new school year, all the best to you and your students. Bye-bye. All the best.